Hey, thanks for making it to Veterans Info Tap. I'm glad you made it. Look, the VA, through all of its different monetary facets, contributes a massive amount of money to the veteran sphere. We'll call it the veteran sphere, right? Whether it's you as a veteran, you as a dependent, you as a spouse, however that money trickles through and ends up in the various states. Now, obviously, some of you are overseas, but my focus here is in the U.S., okay? So the majority of the money coming from the VA goes into your pockets in the states that you're in. This massive contribution is a very important thing because it drives the economics for those states much more than you may think. And I want to dive into that. I do have the numbers. I did a video on this a long time ago, and I just thought I'd do it again. This is the fiscal year 2022 program summary, and they'll probably come out with 2023, maybe the end of the first quarter. But want to just do this since I have the data now. I'll give you the overview of the total spend from the VA, and then I'll go into how much compensation, because that's the biggest one, right? But you have educational benefits, you have VA pension, you have VRNE, you have other things out there. But I'll focus on the compensation portion as I drill into the states. And what I'll touch on is this many veterans in the state are receiving this dollar amount of compensation. It's really interesting. And this is why it's important. It's important because the states have veteran benefits as well, okay? Besides federal benefits, the states have benefits. Now, why does that matter? Because the states are vying for you as a veteran or spouse or dependent to live in their state, so they offer benefits to keep you there because they want all those federal dollars coming into their state, because guess what we're really good at? We're really good at not holding on to our money. We spend it, right? So it's part of the economics of the state. We're going to the restaurants, we're buying the vehicles, we're spending money in those states, and it's federal dollars that are coming in. And not only that, because of us then living in the state, we create more federal jobs wherever we're at, right? Wherever the bigger populations are, there'll be more federal jobs and other jobs that serve veterans. So we are a fantastic attribute for states. And again, the dollar figures are going to blow you away when we talk about what goes into each state. So, and I'll rattle through the states hopefully as quickly as I can. But first, I want to give you a summary. So again, there's so much data and paragraphs underneath the bullet points and so forth. For the sake of time, I'm just going to give the snapshots, okay? Now, remember that the total veteran count for the U.S. is what? Somewhere around 16.5 million veterans in the U.S. somewhere. So let's jump into it. Hit the thumbs up for me, subscribe, share with a friend, all that good stuff. If you want to support the channel, there's 2 ways to do it. Let this video run in the background if you're not interested. That tells YouTube that at least there's something that I'm providing for somebody, right? So the longer that you guys watch this, the more it supports the channel and lets YouTube know to push it on, right? The other way is, look, if you want to support the channel additionally, membership's a way to do that, and it also helps me to find you in the comments. All right, let's jump into it. So this is the summary for 2022. Compensation paid, $120.7 billion with a B, $120.7 billion paid, and that went to 5.9 million recipients. Okay. Home loan guarantees, $256.6 billion in loans, 746,091 loans. Pension and fiduciary, $3.6 billion paid to nearly 300,000. I'm just going to round now because it takes too long. 300,000 recipients, rounded. Veterans Readiness and Employment, that's the VRNE program, 1.5 billion paid to 125,000 participants, rounded. Education, $9.9 billion paid to 835,000 recipients. Outreach, transition, and economic development, 68,800 events with 286,000 attendees. Insurance, $2 billion paid to 5.6 million policies, or there's 5.6 million policies. So that's the high level overview. I'm going to jump into. I'm going to kind of. Well, let's just jump through this a little bit. So, pension, number of recipients for pension, 9,456. What is this? New pension. This is new pension recipients for the year. So that year alone, this is a little bit important. Okay, so in 1 year, so this isn't the cumulative total. This is just the new people that started receiving pension. 9,500 veterans and 14,000 survivors pension. For those that don't know, pension from the VA is not some sort of VA retirement. Pension from the VA is a safety net program for low and no income veterans and surviving spouses. So if you're the surviving spouse who's low or no income, there is VA pension. You can either collect that or you can potentially collect DIC. If you can qualify for DIC, that's the better road to be on. But in any case, that's an additional $358 million paid out annually estimated. So I want to roll into, I'm scrolling down here, state totals. So through compensation for the entire U.S., so this is your service disability compensation, right? Your service-connected disability. Number of veterans, 5,417,000. Again, I'm going to round. Estimated total amount paid monthly. You ready? Estimated total amount paid monthly. $9,338,137,439. I didn't round, but mostly just to get through that. So the estimated total amount paid annually is $112 billion. Okay. The age groups, just because it's interesting, under the age of 34 is 613,000. Age 35 to 54 is 1,750,000. Age 55 to 74 is 2,050,000. And age 75 and older are 1 million. So if you take the 55-year-old and older, you're looking at 3,050,000 veterans. 3,050,000 veterans are receiving VA compensation who are over the age of 55. So that's more than 50% of all compensation claims. So, like real data, right? So there's been information, opinion pieces written in the past that have just very, I don't know, they're lackluster. So anyway, moving on. Pensions, 174,000 veterans. Estimated total amount paid monthly, 192,000. Estimated total amount paid annually, 2,300,000 or 2,300,000,000. Now, I'm going to skip through that and I'm going to jump into the states now. So I'm just going to do, for the sake of time, because there's 50 of them, I'm going to say the state's name, how many veterans, number of veterans are receiving, and the total annual amount. So the state, total number of veterans, annual amount of compensation. So it's also important to note that the total amount of veterans receiving it is usually around the 25 to 35% range of the total veterans of the state. So let's jump into it. Alabama, you're first up. And again, I'm going to round. Alabama, 121,000 veterans, $2,700,000,000 paid annually. That's a lot of money. $2,700,000 annually. That's a lot. Moving on. We have Alaska with 22,000 veterans with $425 million annually. Next up, Arizona, 135,000 veterans with $2,663 million annually. Arkansas is 58,000 veterans at $1,325 million. California is 442,000 veterans receiving compensation at $9,154 million for the year. Colorado, 121,000 veterans receiving compensation at $2,350 million. Connecticut, 31,600 veterans receiving $556 million a year. Delaware, 16,000 veterans receiving $335 million a year. District of Columbia, District of Columbia, 6,129 veterans, $117 million a year. Florida, 446,000 veterans receiving compensation at $9,250 million. Florida is the third most populated state for veterans in 2022. Third most populated. Number one was California. Number two was Texas. Moving on, Georgia, the Peach State, number of veterans, 233,000 veterans at $5,297 million. Hawaii, you have 32,000 veterans receiving $640 million per year. Idaho, you have 39,000 veterans receiving $723 million a year. Illinois, you have 114,000 veterans receiving $2,350 million per year. Indiana, 101,000 veterans receiving $1,622 million per year. Iowa, 46,000 veterans receiving $764 million per year. Kansas, 45,000 veterans receiving $900 million per year. Kentucky, 74,000 veterans receiving $1,483 million per year. Louisiana, 73,000 veterans receiving $1,595 million per year. Maine, 30,000 veterans receiving $664 million per year. Maryland is 101,000 veterans at $2,143 million per year. So now we're in Massachusetts, and I just want to stop here real quick. Happy Thanksgiving to everyone if you've hung on this long. It is Thanksgiving Day, and it is a great day for pie. Just saying. I just got to be a little bit careful. But other than that, so Massachusetts, 69,000 veterans at $1,300 million per year. Much to be thankful for. Michigan, 122,000 veterans at $2,399 million per year. Minnesota, 101,000 veterans receiving compensation at $1,383 million per year. Mississippi, 53,000 veterans receiving $1,155 million per year. Missouri, 108,000 veterans receiving $2,102 million per year in that state. State of Montana, 26,000 veterans receiving $500 million per year. Moving on, Nebraska, 45,000 veterans receiving $700 million per year. Again, I'm rounding, so it's easier. Nevada, 67,000 veterans receiving compensation at $1,494 million per year. New Hampshire, 24,000 veterans receiving $431 million per year. New Jersey, 62,000 veterans receiving $1,317 million per year. New Mexico, 42,000 veterans receiving $977 million per year. New York, 135,000 veterans receiving $2,743 million per year. And again, this money's not staying in the bank accounts, folks. It's getting spent in the state. Therefore, the states should be doing everything they can to keep us in their states. In other words, tax exemption on your home, vehicle tax exemptions, free whatever, right? Free hunting license, free park passes. I'm a fan of the property tax exemption, your home tax exemption at a 50% rating, 50 to 100. If you're 50, 60, 70, 80, 90, 100, that's the percentage you receive off of your property tax bill. So 50% is 50% off. 70% rating is 70% off, and so forth. So that's kind of something that I've been trying to advocate for, and we'll see what happens. Moving on. North Carolina, 239,000 veterans at $5,730 million per year. Huge. Good job, North Carolina. All right, moving on. North Dakota, 14,000 veterans, $247 million per year. Ohio, 161,000 veterans at $2,882 million per year. Oklahoma, 106,000 veterans at $2,463 million per year. These are big numbers. Oregon, you got 80,000 veterans receiving $1,554 million per year. It's a lot of money. Pennsylvania, 144,000 veterans receiving $2,853 million per year. Rhode Island, 14,000 veterans receiving $257 million per year. South Carolina, 130,000 veterans receiving $2,986 million per year. Excuse me. All right, moving on. South Dakota, 20,000 veterans with $341 million per year. Tennessee, 143,000 veterans at $3,050 million. Big numbers, just huge. Texas, the number 2 state for 2022 as far as the veteran population is concerned. However, although Texas was number 2 veteran population, they were number 1 with utilization rate for veterans obtaining service connection through the VA and obtaining that disability compensation. So Texas holds the crown for the biggest numbers here. So number of veterans receiving disability compensation, 569,520 veterans in 2022 for a staggering $12,978 million per year. Huge. Good job, Texas. All right. Utah, 37,000 veterans receiving $731 million. Vermont, 8,500 veterans receiving $166 million. Moving on, Virginia, 230,000 veterans receiving $4,917 million per year. Washington State, 154,000 veterans receiving $2,934 million. West Virginia, 38,000 veterans at $841 million per year. Wisconsin, 83,000 veterans at $1,461 million. Wyoming, 14,000 veterans receiving $255 million. And then we roll over to Puerto Rico at 31,000 veterans receiving $835 million, rolling into Puerto Rico every year. Philippines, by the way, you are on the list here with 5,214 veterans with an estimated $163 million per year rolling into the Philippines. Other foreign locations, all combined, 35,000 veterans with $776 million. So that concludes the numbers here. The big focus is the states, right? So the states, again, provide benefits. These benefits, in my mind, are used as anchors to anchor veterans into the state. Why? Not just because it's the right thing to do, although we would like to think that. Of course, it's the right thing to do, but there's some dollars and cents behind it, as we noted here. We're talking about, in many cases, billions of dollars of money, if not, at a minimum, it's hundreds of millions of dollars being thrown into the state from the federal government by way of veterans and spouses and dependents and so forth. This money comes into the state. It doesn't stay in our bank accounts. It goes into the ecosystem, right? We're creating all these jobs around veteran services and so forth, whether it's the VA or other entities. And that is providing jobs in these states. So veterans are a key component to the health of a state. Imagine for one moment if the 560,000 veterans in Texas that are receiving VA compensation at nearly $13 billion per year left. If they all left Texas, which they won't, but if they did, that would cause a huge ripple effect. It would create a vacuum. Not only are they leaving as residents and all that $13 billion leaves, but all the jobs that are created around all of those veterans also would leave. So we are a very, very important piece of the puzzle for these states, and we need to let our elected officials, we need to remind them. That's what we need to do. We need to remind them how important we are to the state's ecosystem, and to give us a little is not going to break the bank. In fact, it will attract other veterans from less friendly states to move to said state. So you might have even more coming through. And as far as services to connect veterans to benefits, these states and counties should be paying individuals to actually help connect veterans and get the word out and all that good stuff, because a dollar spent is going to be returned 100-fold with VA compensation coming into the veteran's household, then being utilized to support businesses around the area. So with that, happy Thanksgiving to everybody. I hope you have a great one. And remember, if we don't take care of each other, something went wrong.